have all branches facing uphill. Over here, trust me on this, every one of these trees has no branches facing uphill. The only ones that survive are the big, tough trees that got big enough and got a couple fortunate years before a big slide wiped out the little guys. So you can see stability by paying attention. That's visual. You can see it. So look across the mountains and see if you have naturals. If you have naturals over 74 hours, you're like, oh, I got instabilities. Weather, you can see weather, right? There's 4 things in the weather that cause avalanches. New snow adds weight. Wind can load slopes massively and cause tension. Increasing temperature can take consolidated snow and turn it unconsolidated. And then rain can do the same thing, which we're seeing a lot more. And rain can hide itself too these days. So you could have 8 feet of snow and have a really wet, saturated layer and whistler and not even know it. So paying attention to kind of the weather pattern before you fly somewhere is important too. Let's just say you're taking the family to Whistler. I mean, gosh, nowadays, guys, a ski run can slide. With climate change and with the aggressive attitude of resorts opening up that terrain, they're just taking away all the trees and all the anchoring, trying to control with explosives, and expecting you to come along and think it's a controlled environment. It's not. It truly isn't. Even bump run and slide. I mean, that one at Snowbird was an 8-foot crown, 100 yards across, and it slid at 430 when no one was on the mountain. It would have been just easy as ever to stand right on it and think you're safe. So pay attention to the weather. It really tells you what's going on. And group dynamics is important. So if you can just think about all these little dominoes that lead up to the big one. It's generally the little mistake that ends you up in a bad avalanche. Missing a couple little key things or a couple little points. So take this into consideration. What's going to kill you is the decision of what you select in the mountains. The second is going to be the group dynamics. I got people that are just not that experienced, or somebody's overly experienced, overly confident, wanting to take way more risk than maybe you are. The rest group becomes a victim pretty darn quick in this business of skiing. So pay attention, follow your instincts. You might have to call down your friend to chill out a little bit, or you just say, you know what, let's just go ski certain terrain on this given day. Our dynamics is not great. We got all kinds of weird stuff. Somebody was out till 4 in the morning. Jimmy's willing to jump every cliff that he comes along to. Dean Cummings is like this big guy and he thinks he knows it all. Hell with all this. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. Let's go pick some terrain and get our feet under us and get to know each other a little bit and get some protocol developed between the group. So group dynamics is a big one. Snow conditions a big deal too. Like you can predict tomorrow's slide by paying attention to what's on the ground today. So what's this feel like? That's a sun crust. You know, put that up to 40 degrees and let's bring some new snow onto it. What's it going to do? It's not going to hold up to it. It's going to take some time for it to adhere, if it's even going to. You're going to have avalanches. If you're walking through the snow and it's just sugar up to here, and you pick it up and it feels like graphite between your gloves, is it going to support the next 5 feet of new snow coming in? It's not. So you're already saying to yourself, wow, next time it snows, it's going to be massive avalanches. Guys, we're at Snowbird. Let's not mess with Baldy. Let's not mess with Great Scott. Let's get a couple days under our belts and then we'll consider going out there. Have some rules for yourself. Have a strike methodology. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. So the avalanche triangle is a really good tool. It's kind of a good way to put it in your head in a tattooed fashion. So I've already talked about the terrain that causes avalanche, your concave, convex, unsupported slopes, and terrain traps. I've talked about the weather. You know, new snow, wind, increasing temperature, and rain are the 4 biggies. Another one that you can tap into a little bit is super cold temperatures. You're going to Jackson Hole, it's been 30 below for 2 weeks, no snow, and all of a sudden a big storm comes in. You're just like, whoa, huge red flag. And that talks about the snowpack. And the snowpack isn't always just about stability in avalanche world. You need to think about somebody twisting their ankle because it's really wicked crust and you're breaking through it, someone hurts their knee or their ankle, and the next thing you know, you got to traverse across this massive slope to get back to where you need to be, and all of a sudden, everything's changed, right? You can do a lot of cool things in the mountains, but when somebody gets hurt, all of a sudden you're like, I can't really make that safe zone anymore because I got to sidestep this guy this way or whatever. So just think about all the little dominoes that lead up to the big bad day. It really doesn't matter how hard the snow is, how slick the snow is, a slide for life, a fall. So many of these things will translate into you actually exposing yourselves to things, overhead hazards that you didn't really want to be under. or crossing slopes you really didn't want to cross anyway. And the human factor is you're not going to have a human triggered avalanche without somebody making a mistake or missing some clue of some kind. So really think about the human factor. Have your instincts in line. It's like Dean Cummings is this guy in Alaska for 24 years. Who cares? You're just like, hey Dean, are you sure about this? Like, I have some instincts talking to me. You know, listen to your instincts. You know, everything matters. The team group emphasis in the mountains. So everyone in a group matters, and everyone's opinion matters, and every concern matters. You're just like up there, and I'm like, this looks good to me. This is good to go. And Hank comes up and goes, what about that rock down there? You're like, hey, what about that rock, Hank? Yeah, if this thing slid and brought you into that rock, that'd be a bad day. Like, be like, you know what? Good one. That'd be my strike 3 to maybe move over and do something a little bit different. So everything matters, you know. You really want to have people tapped into being a part of it and not just being guided. Follow me, follow me. I'll tell you why we won't ski something, what the hazard is, and why we'll stack tracks left or whatever. It's good to do that with your partners too. So here's what you can do for sure, your visual observations. In Valdez, I'm pretty lucky. I can look out my window and I can see if there's things that cause avalanches. And here's number 2, wind. Wind's a biggie, man. Winds can load slopes so fast, so big, it causes more tension than anything else in the mountains. Tension means propagation, right? It means a fracture line can travel like 4,000 feet per second. So wind's a big deal. So here I am sitting in the bar here, getting a whiskey in the morning, and I look out, and the snow's blowing off the peaks, and it's loading all my south-facing slopes. So all my wests are getting cross-loaded, and all my souths are getting heavily loaded. I can just strike away right there. So I'm going to tap into this strike-through methodology a little early in the presentation. If you have some of these issues, everything from group dynamics, gear, the snow surface isn't great, it's tricky catch, dangerous, slide for life, weak snowpack, you're walking through it 1 minute and it's not supporting you, 1 minute supporting you, next minute you're falling all the way through to your, up to your elbows. These are inconsistencies. You can just start striking away. So if I get out and I'm looking at the mountains and I'm talking more about avalanches, I'm going to say strike 1. And as I drive up to Thompson Pass or whatever I'm going to do, this is September, no, this is October. We get like 15 feet of snow up high by the end of October here generally. It's pretty cool. It looks like New Zealand. It's all green, snow capped. If I drive out and I'm looking for any other clue to say strike 2. So strike 1, guys, is you can do some pretty neat stuff. Get out in the mountains. You've got some concerns. You're like, I still want to ski some cool stuff. But what you want to do is think there are some issues, there are concerns about stability. I did see some major wind blowing. I haven't seen any avalanches, but that doesn't matter. I think they still could happen. Strike 1 was this. You want to pick isolated terrain. You can ski the convex unsupported slope and go through a terrain trap if you have no other option and you have a partner spotting you with all the right equipment. But you want to be micro terrain. You want to be into the big bowl or the big huge chute. Or the big unsupported slope, or go over the big convex, go through some massive terrain trap. You're thinking more micro type terrain, which is pretty damn fun. Trying to think of what we skied that's kind of micro terrain. Like the top of Vitas is that kind of micro terrain. Once you get down after the first safe zone, I wouldn't say it's micro. But you know, you're talking about that nice little small chute. Think about places where you have surefire safe zones to get to, and you want to stay visual with your partner. And visual with your partner is that you can get your partner within 5 to 8 minutes. That means you could rescue somebody and they can still be alive if trauma didn't hurt them or kill them. And you want to be able to see their in-run and their out-run. In case it did slide, you want to see where they end up. A physical search is generally a pretty good outcome. A blind search with technology is generally a pretty bad outcome. Don't take advantage of your technology. Combine it with some really physical, visual stuff. So let's just say I ski down, I go to the safe zone. We have the ability to communicate because we communicated in the car or on the ridge or in the tram about our hand signals. If I ski down, I put 2 poles up, it means I'm good to go. I'm watching you, I liked what I skied. Come on down. Let's talk about how great that was when you get here. Opposed to, what if I ski down and the whole slope's settled? You couldn't see it because you're up top and it's that bowling ball effect type thing. And I get down there and you're just like, all right, he's waiting for me, here I go. No, I mean, it would be the worst to be in your feet, in your shoes with you right now. If I couldn't communicate with you about what had just happened, the slope settled, it cracked, it didn't take off, all it takes is one more guy to come over and finish it off. I can communicate with you because I can say, cross my poles, means stop, something's wrong, I'm going to crawl out of here with my tail between my legs. Or I could point over, if you have a safe route, I could point this way, you traverse left, when my hand drops, you're on line. And let's say we do that. And you ski down right on the apex of the ridge, you're like, what was that all about? Look back at what I just skied, the thing almost took off. You see 4 big cracks across the slope, you're like, holy moly, thank you. So you can control your destiny, and you can go down the mountains looking at your hazards as you go and spot each other in that fashion. So have good hand signals and have good communication and regroup and talk about the snowpack. And better yet, dig into the snow a little bit and test it out. You guys have seen how I do my hand pits. And a lot of you guys are snowboarders, but you can still dig in with your hands on a nice 30-degree slope, soft snow. You can go down 4 feet in no time at all. I want you to be able to do things that you can do timely and all the time. It's not that realistic to be able to pull out your shovel and your thermometers and everything else all the time, but you can definitely check out snow. And remember, I was talking to you guys about little small unsupported slopes, giving those a kick as you're up on top of the ridge and seeing a spider crack or slide off with a bunch of energy, or that mushroom rock with like all the seasoned accumulation. Just slam your hand into it, it cracks 4 directions, and all of a sudden a big block flies off with a bunch of energy. You're like, whoa. That's the stuff. Those are your clues that give you what to do. So let's just say, we have an epic day on a strike one day, and we go to bed and it's blowing super hard. It's like windy as ever, and you're just like, maybe even right before you go to bed, you're like, tomorrow's a strike 2 day. And you wake up, you're like, sure enough, as you drive up Little Cottonwood Canyon, you see a couple avalanches that have occurred, a couple were swept off the road, you're like, wow, I'm right about that. You're going to avoid the concave, the convex, the unsupported slope, and the train trap. And in really nice mountains, not all mountains have this, like the Front Range of Colorado is not exactly like this. When you get into like the Gore Range and the San Juans and the Sierras, in the West Coast, the Cascades, there's a lot of apex terrain, which means you want to be skiing either low angle terrain with lots of anchoring, or staying up on the ridge system where if something happens, it slides away from you. So think about that. And you want to go shorter stints. You want to be visual and verbal. You're really trying to nip an injury where it forces you to have to traverse out across a big slope, or force you to go under a cornice that you didn't really want to, but now things have changed because all of a sudden you got a twisted ankle. So you would like ski down and be shorter stints to like semi-safe zones. You'd be like, man, I turned to an ice patch here. It's like, I'm going to stop here and tell Bill, hey, watch out for the change-up. It's icy. Watch out for this little rollover. So you want to just think visual and verbal, and watch each other. Then you go home, you're like, that was a pretty epic day, and it snows 6 feet overnight. You're just like, let's just go have a beer. Let's go ski groomed runs, but let's not even ski under anything with objective hazards above us. Like we slide under a groomed run. That one photo I showed you at Snowbird actually does slide right onto the groomed run. And it's a no-brainer. It's called the phone. You can ski all the way under that bowl and end up at the phone, and at the phone it's actually below the apex of the ridge system. And you see mom and dad waiting for grandma right there in the bottom of the bowl. Only
Patrol
I
trigger
stop and
that?
tell every single person they shouldn't park there. What's that?
Did the patrol trigger that in the morning, or was that during the day?
That was a natural. That was
Just
actually
during the day.
natural. That was a morning route. I was running a route, and that just triggered before the patrol got out there. So this is obvious, right, guys? What's the snow going to do trying to stick to that sun crust? I mean, it's not. So you can break tomorrow's slide by looking at what's on the ground today. So you listen to the mountains and take a little bit of time at the top of Snowbird or the top of Squat and look across the range and say to yourself, guys, is there anything out here today that could affect the rest of my life? And go, wow, there's a huge cornice that fell across the way. Or you're like, wow, everything was sheen. And you're just going, wow, the next storm's going to be humbling in Squaw Valley. So just think about what's on the ground before the next storm. How it looks and how it feels is important, right? So you're walking across it, like I was saying, consistency is a good thing, inconsistency is a bad thing. So you're walking across the glacier, 1 minute it supports you, the next minute you're falling all the way up to your elbows. Or let's say you're walking along and it's not supporting you at all, you're walking on the dirt, and you're like, wow, if it snows on this, what's going to happen? So what you see and what you hear matters a lot. So the snow's like woompy, you're cruising along, it's like settling. Or it might just sound drummy. That sounds drummy right there. That sounds like an upside down soft slap to me. So just think about what you see or what you feel. Probing down with your poles and going, it's dense, not so dense. You're like, wow, these are clues. So consistency is good, inconsistency is bad. Like this is kind of classic, massive windstorm. You see the sculpting. That's really smooth, you know, it just really left a lot of smooth snow in the mountains after this particular windstorm. And then I was pretty sure we had a little bit of surface ore because we had frozen fog in the mountains. And so imagine surface ore, these feathers that grow on the surface, like you see them growing on trees, like around a creek where there's a lot of moisture in the air in the morning. And it's those little feathers, those really beautiful feathered crystals, but they're like the worst thing ever for sitting on the surface and adding new snow on top of it. It's the most hair-trigger stuff there is. So we're like, you know, I don't know, this is a guy, he's got a group above him, he's probably 50 yards below them. Guys, why don't you just stay up at the landing zone? I'm going to go check something out. There's a small little pit up near the ridge, finds his surface ore on that wind buff. He's like, let me just go see what this thing's made of. Bam. He's like, sure enough, guys, that's what I thought. Let's just get back in the hell and go back home. So think about everything that you can see and feel and touch out there. This is consistency. This is the books.
The books.
Does anyone see this guy falling through at all? This is like perfectly 2 feet of boot penetration. Light snow down to a more dense snowpack. As soon as you start seeing inconsistencies, you're skiing along Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, these places, intercontinental, even 50 miles in from here is like this. It's just, you're skiing along and it's supporting you one minute and you're falling through the next. Let's just say we start skiing here along the coast, and one day you ski this region, next day we ski 60 miles in. You guys were steering your turns beautifully, the snow's supporting you, you just rip into it with tons of energy, and it supports you really well. Then we go back there, next thing you know, you're back to hopping your turns, just trying to get your damn skis out of the sugar and out of the facets. And that's what I'm talking about, is these inconsistencies can tell you so much. Yeah, page 1 right here. Look how fat it is that year. That's super fat, right? So this clip goes to like right here this year. You can say something I pulled in the other day was down.
So that's pretty concave, that one, would you ski the left-hand side of that?
Oh yeah,
And
that's
that's where-
major concave, yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah, exactly, so 4 feet of new snow, do you want to go jump into page 1? No, maybe not. You definitely want to go get on some apex terrain and check things out.
Those are awesome.
so would you ski the second one over, with that second
Yeah,
one?
1.5.
Well, over what, over one more?
We'll ski this one, these all have
Oh,
cornices.
right there. Would you
We don't mess with these because they have big, huge cornices on them. But we do like to do this one. It's pretty cool. Some years it's got a lot of rocks right here. It's got a bit of a cornice here too. It's kind of humbling. It's not something we do often. It's got to look right, feel right, be right.
This really doesn't look like any apexes to ski in there.
No, there isn't.
No,
There's apex stations.
Maybe at the
There's
top, yeah, right.
apex,
You can't really ski down
You
there.
can go here, but that's it goes 60 degrees below you.
We did the one on the right though, I thought. What's the
We
right?
have done this one, yeah.
The one more over, I thought.
I'm one over. Yeah, Matt went off the cliff.
Page 2 or page 3.
And we didn't ski that yesterday, right? Or 2 days ago?
We looked down at
Didn't we go the other side?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we looked right down. I remember I gave you guys the choice. You
Yeah.
guys want to do 4,000 or 1,500? You guys
You
were
chose 4,000?
quality over steep. That's what
Yeah.
we did.
You guys are making decisions?
What's that?
You guys making
Hey, if you understand the cause of avalanches, you can avoid them. And like I said, terrain is key. It's so important to realize it. So many people don't even think about that. They just think about what the forecast told them. There's no such thing as a lengthy forecast for a whole mountain range. So go ahead and start picking the terrain to get a feel for things and looking at the snow yourself and really get a handle on it. Weather is something you can see and tap into. Start striking away on that weather. New snow on the surface adds weight, wind, increasing temperature, and rain. Snowpack, what was on the ground before the storm, and human factor. But this is just plugging in the triangle in your head as hard as we possibly can here. But tap into the human factor in the snowpack, and don't just talk about stability of the snow, but talk about, like Seth Morrison, riding the lift with Seth, it's great. It's just just all about skiing. There's not a lot of bullshitting going on. It's just like the kid is watching the guy ski down the slope. He's like, oh, that guy, that looks like kind of difficult conditions. He's looking across, seeing any avalanches that occur. When he gets off the lift, the guy pretty much knows how fast he can ski and what kind of risk he can take and what risk he shouldn't take, knows what the stability is, and that's why he's a great skier. He's totally paying attention all the time. I did snow safety there for years, and there'd be only like 3 guys looking out in the morning, going up at 5 a.m., scraping the window after like a 6-foot dump, and they were on it. Like, those are the guys. The other guys are talking about girls and Starbucks, whatever. And like, these are the Alaska guys. These guys scraping the glass are the guys you want. They get to the top, like, Mongo, I'm not okay with running route 3. Mongo's like, sounds good to me, man. You're a smart guy. Next thing you know, he's assistant snow safety director in 4 years, you know. So these are the guys that really pay attention, and you guys should too. Every switchback you get, when you get a cross section of the mountain, you see ridges and hips and gullies and stuff. Take a look at it, you know. Every high point you get when you're driving up, or every nice high point on the lift when it makes